Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTKDB Let's Talk Radio. Hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your week. And we are here on Friday, and we have Brandi Khan on the show today. She's a medium, an astrologist, and a healer, and she has specialities in each. So we're going to dive into that. She's an Arcturian healer. She does counseling with astrology, an astrologer counselor. So I'm really interested about that. I don't think I've seen someone pair those together quite like that. And I love that because that's what I'm hearing a lot from people more and more these days. When there's an energy dip or something comes out of left field, I hear a lot more people who are intuitively connected recommending, hey, like go get your chart done, right? Like get a perspective on it. Go get a reading where you can understand your energy blueprint. And that really is a different angle how to look at wellness and emotional understanding and soul understanding of the self. So I'm really excited to talk about that. So the cool thing about this show is on Fridays, we have our reading show, and sometimes we have guests on Fridays too as well, so we can share the magic. So Brandi and I will be doing readings, mini ones towards the end of the show, like at the tail end. So if you want a reading, pop down your question, and the way to do it is always asking for that reading because we need your consent, and asking something like specific that helps. You can ask for a general reading too if you really want to, but ask for that question if you're wondering about, let's say, career more than relationship or something more specific within that, because that helps us hone in a little bit more with the time that we have. So, and because it's a hybrid show, we love those hybrid shows. If you have a question about your life with the topics we are talking about, with the healing, the mediumship, the astrology, please pop them down because that just keeps us flowing with how you've experienced life too. So, oh yes, thank you. Okay, people are ready to go. So yeah, pop your question in early because at the end, everyone starts coming in, as you know, and we're just going to go with what we feel when we get to the readings part of the show. But please pop down your questions too for us too as we're talking. So, you get more than one opportunity to interact. So, all right, we always start with the topic of the day. And so the topic of the day for me is the energy vibration of help. And that is such a powerful word to me, help. Some of us are better givers, some of us are better receivers. And really, the world goes around with us having synergy with one another and helping each other step up. Like, think about it. Just when you were the smallest child, you had a teacher, you had a mom and dad. It's hard to get much of anywhere if you don't have help when you're just getting from A to B. It's really hard. And the older we get, the more independent we get. And the older we get, the more isolated we get. Typically, not always, but typically. And we start to see our view of the world as I have to do it by myself, or there are less people like me that understand about my experience, and so I'm in this alone. And really, gosh, the more I've been in this work with being a psychic medium, and we always kind of put our examples towards that because it's the psychic hour, The more I have appreciated help within my life, I've always tried to be open to it, but now I think, appreciate it on a much deeper level because I see how people, whether someone's in class, whether I've been a student or a teacher, I see just the aha moments. I see that people help each other go uphill. I see that there's a perspective or an energy shared. That's the biggest thing. It's the energy shared, not even the words spoken, just the energy signature that's shared when you're in a group of, let's say, hundreds of people or thousands of people together. If you're at a conference, right? Or a room of five, there's a certain feeling that gets generated, a certain understanding. And usually one person is leading that energy, and then everyone starts to lead with them. Everyone starts to raise their vibration and vibrate at the frequency of the greatest intention. And you really do feel a change. And you go, whoa, okay, I don't feel like this when I'm by myself. And so I want you to think about that too. If you've ever been to a concert, right? Or again, a convention or something with a great number of people and they all share something that you believe in as well. And you go, wow, when the energy starts kicking up, it feels really good. It feels really great. Wow, I wish I could have this, every week. And it really is kind of this trail to becoming, this invitation to becoming, and you put yourself in groups and pools of people that help raise your vibration. And one day you'll be in a position where you can help raise others' vibrations. And probably if you've already started the journey and you really understand that vibration, that you are cultivating, and that vibration that you are having a relationship with, I promise you, wherever you go, people are feeling that to a certain degree. You could go to the grocery store, you could just be with family, and you just change the way you feel or make other people changes on a certain level. You could just give off a more calming presence. You could give off a more alert presence. I'm going to say present. You're a little bit more present, not like alert like coffee, like, oh, hi, everyone. Hi, hi. You might get a little bit more nervous, perhaps even, or a little quieter because maybe you're a little bit more thoughtful with what comes out of your mouth, or you're more sensitive. So that nervous vibration is very much a thing, but your energy just does start to change. And if we're working on ourselves with the intention for the better, or unexpectedly we are met with something that really changes our life for the better, that is genuinely and generally where people start heading. Whether it takes them years, days, weeks, there's no formula. It's just, I've experienced something and I feel like this is the better way. And in order to have those realizations, we cannot do this alone because we might be, doing so much beautiful work by ourselves, but we have to see beyond ourselves, and that's what spirit work is, seeing beyond, going beyond. And humans can actually be a part of that. Our shared thoughts, our shared beliefs, our shared experiences, they really propel us forward. They really do. That's why we go to see readers or healers or coaches or mentors. And when we have good ones, they're worth their weight in gold. My goodness, it's not always easy to find the right fit. It's not always easy to find a good one. That's true. But when you do find the person that's right for you, they're worth their weight in gold because they help us transcend. And at the highest point, spirit helps us transcend because that is guidance that is just so fully divine and masterful, that those are the best teachers of spirit, and whatever divine understanding you believe in, whether it's God, the universe, those are the greatest teachers. But humans do help, and other humans do channel, and you have to believe in the humans around you. You have to believe in yourself because we all have the ability to help, to grow, and to change. And that really comes in the greatest force when we're out in the world, whether it's the student or the teacher or the person who stands up because they now know and they now are taking a stand, or they now are sharing and they now are doing. So I invite you to bring your synergy to the world, and bring your intention, and just to keep traveling, and go with the vibration of help. And you'll be surprised what finds you. So, with that said, we're going to take a break for a moment, and then we are going to come back with Brandi. And yeah, I hope that sat well with you, because the vibration of help is just, it's a good vibe. It really is. See you in a moment, and we'll be back.
Download the new station calendar and never miss another show. To get it is simple and free. Just visit WLTKDB.com to download, or tap the subscribe button on our mobile app. Once the file is in your downloads folder, just double-click it, authorize it to your calendar, and boom, you have every show listed. Not only does it list the shows, but also the links to watch them live. We would like to thank Danny Loosemore for developing this for us, and hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Get yours now at WLTKDB.com, or just click subscribe on our mobile app. See you at the shows.
Hello. We're back. All right. It just comes in like a bullet sometimes, right? A love flower, just a bouquet of we're back. All right, let's bring in Brandi, and we are going to say hello and introduce her. Hello, Brandi. Hey.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. I want to give everyone a warm introduction to you. Brandi Khan is a certified counseling astrologer, intuitive medium, and Arcturian healer. She has been a featured guest on Hay House Radio with one of our mentors, James von Praagh, and is also a contributing author of the books When Angels Speak and The Last Breath. She currently is pursuing her master's degree in psychology and lives in Lake Jackson, Texas, with her husband and 4 children. Hello. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I was very inspired to wear like green and the blues.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very much, it's just the energy that I feel around you.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to learn about what you do. So you are into mixing counseling with your astrology. I'm going to go in different, areas, but that's the one that I so much want to ask about. I think that's wonderful that you're bridging the two.
Yeah, especially that's a big reason why I decided to pursue my master's in psychology. Because when I began studying astrology a few years ago, I realized that so much of it, or the way that it was taught to me by my teacher, had a psychological bent to it. It was about the psychology of the person, how they perceive the world, how they think. And so I just thought it would be awesome to combine the two. Because like with the natal chart reading, and when somebody really looks at your chart and they dissect your astrology, you can tell so much about how the mind works. So I wanted to combine that in a way with psychology.
Absolutely. So growing up, did you always have interest in psychology? Did you have interest in um, things that were intuitive or unexplained? How did you come into these interests?
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up in a very religious household. We were Jehovah's Witnesses. And so anything dealing with intuition or connecting with spirit, those were all things that were not really looked well upon. they were frowned upon, and even, we were taught that they could be demonic. So it was something that I always wanted to stay as far away from as I could. Now, the thing about it is, I was always really sensitive. I would pick up on things before they would actually happen. I would have insights about people or situations. But because of the way that I had been conditioned to believe, I thought that maybe there was something wrong with me, and I wasn't sure of where the information was coming from. So I remember as a teenager making the decision to close down my abilities, to shut them off, to stop listening to my inner voice. And, so then I went throughout life doubting myself, not believing in myself, not listening to my inner voice, which was very, very difficult. But then in my mid 20s, I decided to delve a little bit more into what is this thing called intuition? Why do I feel like I know things that are going to happen before they happen? And that was the beginning of my awakening process.
Okay, so if I may, when you were younger and you were aware of, this isn't really in par with my religion, what were you stuffing down? Like feelings? Would you just know things?
Oh, well, I'll give you a good example. I remember one Saturday night, me, my mom, and my aunt, my mom's sister, we were watching TV. We were watching it was a show that came on in the 80s and 90s called Showtime at the Apollo. We loved that show. So anyway, this was a new season. This was not a rerun. This was the first time this show had aired, and we were watching Amateur Night, which is a segment on the show where they bring in people like to do their thing, and the audience either applauds or they boo them off the stage. So anyway, Steve Harvey was the host at that time, and the first person comes out on stage, and before he ever says anything, I turned to my mom and my aunt and I said, "Oh, he's a singer. He's going to sing." And he's going to sing Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
And Steve Harvey asked the guy, "Man, what are you going to do tonight?" And he said, "I'm going to sing Ribbon in the Sky." And we all looked at each other and nobody said anything. And I'm like, "Oh." So the second person comes on stage and I'm like, "Oh, she's a dancer. She's going to do a dance." And Steve Harvey asked the contestant, "What are you going to do?" And she said, "Oh, I'm going to perform a dance." And then nobody said anything. I'm like, "Whoa, this is so crazy." So then the third person contestant comes out on stage and I'm like, "Hey, he's a comedian. He's going to tell jokes." And of course, the guy was a comedian. And at that point, I remember my mom said to me, "Stop, stop." And I said, "What?" And she said, "You've seen this before." I said, "No, this is a new episode. Like I really have not seen this." And she's like, "Stop." So it was really confusing for me in that moment. And I remember getting up off the couch and going to my room, and walking to my room. I made the decision that I would never again do what I had just done. I would never tap into, okay, what's going to happen next. I was never going to tap into intuition because I got the message loud and clear that there was something wrong with what I was doing, or that I couldn't possibly be doing what I was doing. And it was a little scary to me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm never doing that again. So that's just one example of how I decided, okay, I'm not listening. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tap in, and I'm just going to ignore what I feel.
Wow, yeah, because when you're on fire like that, just knowing who's coming on and what they're
Yeah.
gonna do, there's an excitement, right? And it
Yeah.
feels so good, and then you have people saying, "Don't do that," like, so it's like
Yeah.
the counter of, so when you were in your 20s, was there something that came to you that was, I guess, more about life, specifically your life or someone else's life, where you're like, "This is important. It's
Yeah, like,
important to honor
so in
this."
my 20s, okay, so I went to college and therefore distanced myself from my religious upbringing. And my mind was open to all sorts of ideas, concepts, different people now. So in my 20s, I was trying to reconcile who I had been, what I had been taught, with who I was in the process of becoming. And I could not bring them into harmony with each other. So at that point, there was still a part of me that believed that somehow maybe I was bad. Maybe somehow there's something wrong with me. Am I doing something wrong? So my 20s was all about really rediscovering who I was as a person outside of any group, or outside of any set of dogma or religious beliefs, and then following my heart.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty it's like kind of a heavy burden to bear when
Yeah,
you're 20 years old and you're trying to just be at peace with just who you are as a person
it
on
was.
that fundamental level.
Yeah, it was. It was that was yeah, I'd say my early to mid 20s, that was tough. There was a lot of soul searching. I spent a lot of hours at the bookstore in the section where they had like metaphysical books, like so reading a lot of Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer. Those gentlemen really were so helpful and fundamental for my growth as an individual early on.
Absolutely. Within the material, the books, or within some experiences, what was a aha moment where you believed, not just read or thought that, okay, I'm doing the right thing?
I would say that aha moment did not really come until I studied Reiki. And Reiki came in my late 20s. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it was the attunements or what, but Reiki was what really opened me up to everything else. And it was the fact that with Reiki, I could feel the energy, and the person that I was working on could also feel the energy. I was like, okay, I'm in connection with something else much bigger outside of me, and this just feels right. This feels like home, and I felt at home for the first time, in a long time with Reiki.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because, with Reiki, of course, you learn about what it is, but it kind of can't be described until you just
Right.
feel it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, okay, this is a thing. This really is a thing."
Right.
And so, did you go from Reiki to other healing modalities, or did you go from Reiki to more intuition based, classes? How did you, follow that trail?
Yeah, it was like, with Reiki, it was almost like the attunements opened me up. I remember with Reiki too, on one of the attunements, as we were all seated in our, the teacher was attuning everybody in class. It was like I was hearing a radio, like I was hearing somebody talking. And at the end of the attunement, I asked her who was talking, and nobody else heard it. So it was almost like Reiki opened me up to other things. From there came working with intuition and working with mediumship, and from there also came the interest, like with the star beings, Pleiadians and Arcturians. So all of that came in after Reiki. Reiki, I think, was like the gateway drug for me. Like it really just opened me up in a sense. It opened my system up.
It really does. I just want to. I don't know if I want to get a poster, but like a T-shirt or something would be hilarious. Reiki, the gateway drug.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. No, it really does open up your understanding with how your feelings work and
Yes.
being sensitive to energy. It's really true.
Yeah.
So can you share, because you're talking about Arcturian healing and being more sensitive to understanding the different star seeds. Um, what led you to being an Arctur? Well, I cannot. It's a tongue twister, and I know it. It's just it's
Yeah.
not coming off the tongue easy. Arcturian. What led you to be an Arcturian healer?
So yeah, that was a gradual process. So after the Reiki, there were these recommended books that popped up on my list on Amazon, and there was one about Pleiadians. I had never heard of them. I didn't know about star people. I didn't know anything about that, but I knew that I was supposed to have that book, and supposed to read it. So I ordered it and began working with the Pleiadians. And after about, a few months of that, then Amazon was recommending books on Arcturians. So then I began to study about them and work with their energy in that way. And a few years later, someone said, "Oh, hey, there's this guy that teaches these courses on Arcturian healing." And I'm like, okay. So I went and signed up for the courses, and I've gone all the way to level 11 because it just resonates with me on a very deep level. So yeah, that's how I came to Arcturian healing.
Yeah, level 11. So how many levels are there?
So far 11. Like, he just released level 11 in December. We had our student training, so we just
That's in
completed that.
depth. That's
Yeah,
in depth.
yeah.
So how does it differ from Reiki, or how's it similar to Reiki as well?
Oh, well, I'd say Arcturian healing tends to be more quantum based. So, like, whereas in Reiki, I was taught that, you're the channel, the energy comes, through you and through your palms to the person that you're working on. With Arcturian healing, we are advised really just to open the door and let the Arcturians come in and heal, bypassing, ourselves. So, just setting like a quantum field in place where when we call on the frequencies, they go directly to the person or the object of our attention. So it differs in that way.
So it's a different kind of channeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. No, I'm curious because I don't think I've heard of different star seeds and how people work with them, but I didn't um hear of the system where like you could actually train to learn that style too. So I'm
Yes.
just fascinated always.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So do you want to teach that one day as well?
Hopefully, eventually down the road, I hope to teach. I hope that teaching comes in full force for me down the road, like in so many different areas. But right now, I'm just so happy, like being
Yeah.
a student and learning everything and soaking everything up. Like, I don't feel, I feel so much like myself. I feel so in tune when like when I'm learning. So right now, I'm in this phase of like learning, learning, learning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's so much to learn. You're going to school for your master's and you're still like there's other things I know that you're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like so then okay, bridging the master's degree, you're in psychology with your astrology training. Can you talk about that in depth?
Yeah. So with psychology, I'm specializing in child psychology.
Okay, yes, okay.
Yeah, so I've got 4 kids and, um, I wish like, I love what I'm learning. I wish I would have had it, like, back when they were little. It's so very enlightening, as far as how children develop, biological processes and things that they go through, different phases, how parents can best support their children, and, I love it from that perspective of I feel like it helps me to be a better parent, and it helps me to understand my children from a different place.
Absolutely. There's just so many different tools that
Yes.
you can take on and children are so different with what their needs are from one person to another,
Right.
one soul to another. Like, every reading's different, right?
Right, right,
All it's just everything just comes as needed and you're able to do that in just
right.
a greater capacity. So I can only imagine. So do I so I do understand. You're taking your counseling as it evolves once you get your master's, and are you bridging it with the astrology, or being an astrologer counselor just a completely different like focal point within the work?
That's what I'm hoping to do. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
my intention is. Um, I don't know if uh, John Edward did
Yes.
did you see that the interview that he did not too long ago, and he talked about how when we're going through really tough life experiences, it's really good. He said get a therapist and get an astrologer. The astrologer can help you see what's going on, what lessons you're supposed to learn, and then the therapist can help you through it. So like I think that's the best of both worlds, and I'd like to combine the two together in that way.
Absolutely. Do you gravitate towards like a fascination with an astrology, like a certain type of house? Or let's say, do you really gravitate to learning about people's Venus or Mars? Or do you have like favorite areas?
I love looking at the north node and the south node. I love the nodes because when you come in, everybody, everybody's got a north node and a south node. They're 180 degrees apart from each other. And that north node is where you are supposed to focus most of your energy, for this lifetime. Now, the south node is where you were really comfortable before. So, like, for example, before I incarnated in, my soul said, Brandi's got a lot of experience over in this area. The south node is over here, but she's not quite comfortable down here where we're going to put the north node. So we're going to put the north node there, have her focus on that, and she'll be more well-rounded as an individual. So I love looking at the nodes to see, okay, what is it that you're really here to focus on? Where is your energy going to go? What is your soul asking you to incorporate for this lifetime?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much in just that in itself. And I get really excited if people are familiar with midheavens,
Mm,
like, showcases the career a lot, that point on the
right,
chart.
right,
And to pair those two together, I just feel like, oh, like you really can help someone on their path.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
I have my favorites. I really do. I love astrology, but there's so much. There's so much.
And like
Uh,
just a few years ago, I did not believe in astrology. I did not believe in astrology. It made no sense to me how every single Leo could have the same horoscope in the newspaper, right? And so then, what year was that I went to go see John Edward in Houston? And one of the first, it was like there was 1,000 people in the crowd. And one of the first things that he said was, people always ask me who I go to for readings. I don't go to anybody for readings. The only person that I see is an astrologer in Australia named Maggie Kerr. I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to write her name down. So I wrote her name down and I scheduled a session with her, and my life changed in that session because she told me the story of my life through looking at my chart. And I'm like, how did you do this? Like how did you do this? This is amazing. She said, well, it's all in your chart. And she said, you actually have the ability to work as an astrologer. And I'm like, what? Like, I just started believing in astrology 5 minutes ago. How do I have how am I going to work as an astrologer? And she said, nope, you've got this right here in this house and this on the midheaven. So you could work with it as an astrologer. And I'm like, wow. Okay. And here I am now. I mean, like, so I mean, like, it's amazing what you can see from a natal chart.
Yes, there's so much symbology to let you know who a person is. And I do think it takes just a tremendous amount of discipline and like time to gather all those
Yes.
skills, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
repetition, because you really have to be an encyclopedia,
Right.
right? Like,
Yes.
oh, okay, this and this, and this and this connects to
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
just yeah, just yes, things have gotten easier, I think, to read astrology with, but just all the back in the day, people were making like the geometry shapes of,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
you're adjunct and you're squared with
Right.
this planet, and that freaks me out when I first was learning about. I'm like, I can't do that, like, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit different now, but still, yeah, I'm always learning about it so much more every
Right.
year that it just fascinating because before I couldn't connect the dots either. So when she basically gave you like a key to your understanding of, hey, you could be amazing at this, where did you dive in with it first?
I'm studying with her. So I decided
Okay.
she just happened to be starting a course, like a brand new course. And I
Wow.
studied with her for 2 years, wrote
Wow.
lots of papers, did lots of research, and learned so much from her. So that was where I began my journey with Maggie. She gave me a really deep appreciation for who I am and for my path in life. So, for example, most of my planets are down in the fourth and fifth house, like, so home, family, children. Like, I've got a ton of
Makes
planets
sense.
down there, right? So that's where a lot of my energy and focus goes. And I never could understand before she explained my chart to me why I had this overwhelming desire to do the stay at home mom thing, to homeschool, to be here with them. And when I understood my chart, I understood myself. And I'm like, so I'm just living my chart. I'm living my blueprint in a sense.
That makes sense. That
Yeah,
really does make sense. And then
yeah.
that would make sense how you're going into counseling with the focus on children.
Children. There's a lot of I've got a lot of planets there in the 5th house of children. Plus, double I'm a sun moon Leo, which is, also a sign that has to do with children as well. So
Hi, I'm a Sun Moon Leo too. Nice
no,
to
you're
meet you.
not. No
Yeah.
way. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool.
It is. Double Leos.
Double Leos. I love it. Wow. So, if I may ask too, with all the activity within the fourth house, um, at first, were you just feeling like this draw, but you didn't know why, like you said? And then was it hard to kind of pair career at times to that?
Definitely. I think I doubted myself a lot as I've gone through life and I've done the stay at home mom thing and homeschooling thing, and I always wondered, why didn't I get out there, in the workforce? Why didn't I go and pursue a career? And but like in my 4th house of home and family, I've got Mercury conjunct Saturn. So that shows teaching and learning in the home, teaching and learning within the family. So I was like, "Oh, it makes perfect sense that I do the homeschooling." So, in a way, it really validated a lot of my life decisions and choices that I've made.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I have a lot of plants in the fourth house too. You're making me think. Like, I really gotta look back at my chart. I
Yeah.
gotta look back at my chart like a whole different way.
Yeah.
I love it. I really do. And in the fifth house, it's so different.
Yeah.
The motive. I mean, the children part, there's crossover, but like the fifth house is about fun too. So how do you
Yes.
find yourself then activating that fun and that enthusiasm and need to just kind of break free and just be like, and I need to enjoy life?
A lot of my fun right now, this is gonna sound so weird, but a lot of my fun, like, it comes through the kids again. Like, so for me, going to soccer games on Saturday mornings is so much fun and cheering from the sidelines. My daughter was playing volleyball. I loved going to her games. I love seeing them play. And times when we go out as a family and do things together, like that's my type of fun. With my kids, with my family, just enjoying life.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
and they just it's in such harmony. It's in such harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So looking at your chart every year, how much more do you understand? Is it like, okay, I'm connecting the dots, or every year, since you're getting more and more knowledge, do you have these epiphanies?
Yeah, it's like that. There's so many layers to what one placement can mean. And I may not have understood a particular placement years ago, but now I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm seeing how that's coming into play. I'm seeing like the meaning that it has for my life. And on top of that, I also follow my progressions as well to see, okay, how am I evolving as a person? So with that natal chart, that's like a set point. But then also, if you follow your progressions, especially your sun and your moon, you can kind of see how you are evolving as an individual as well.
Okay. And does that go into predictive astrology a bit?
Yeah, it can. There are some things that you could see like within a progression. Um, I would say more so transits have to do with maybe predictions about things coming, whereas progressions, I would say it's a little bit more of the internal change or internal evolution that's going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And within, if I may ask too, like since you're a medium, do you find yourself having spirit come in to direct you how to read? Do you have crossovers at all? Or even, sometimes you can feel like a certain type of energy within the room. It might even be like a star seed helping you. How does the crossover come into play if it does? Or do you find yourself very just focused within each energy?
Yeah, there is a crossover. I do have to say, like with mediumship, I started to notice a lot of the crossover much more after I began sitting for trance. So, like 2020 COVID, before that, it was really hard to find a trance class online. Like everybody wanted to do it in person. But with COVID, I was like a kid in the candy shop because there were all these classes online. I love to learn. So there was a trance class, that Tony Stockwell offered, and I signed up, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And then I began sitting regularly in trance with a group that Michael Mayo had. And that sitting for trance changed me as a medium. It changed how my information came in or how I feel it or perceive it. And it makes it where now I'm able to sense my guides or teachers around me much stronger than I ever had before. So there was a definite change after sitting for trance for a period of time.
Did it just make you more passive with what was just around you, or did you like open up just the way that you sensed and saw?
It definitely made me more passive, but it seemed to, like, I'm already really clairsentient, right? But it like amped it up, like all of a sudden, like I really feel, the communicator coming through, or I really feel as if I'm taking on the characteristics, of the communicator. Whereas before, I feel like I relied a lot on clairvoyance, and in conjunction with my clairsentience, I just feel like the clairsentience is so much stronger now.
Absolutely, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's kind of funny because, within mediumship we do have to like ground and feel and be in our body,
Right.
right? And so it pulls us down from our head into our
Yeah.
body and we start
Yeah.
feeling and things, but it's very enjoyable.
Yes, definitely.
And I love, hearing in various ways how it opens people up within their other abilities.
Right.
Um, Within your like psychic understanding too, and readings with astrology, if I may ask as well, how do you find yourself being led?
Also, I feel like that my guides come in much stronger, like as far as feeling. So again, clairsentiently, like whereas with mediumship, I will feel the presence of the communicator from spirit. More so like intuitively now, I feel like I connect with the sitter on a stronger level and will feel that emotion in a deeper and more meaningful way.
Deeper, more meaningful way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just more full bodied. I
Yes.
definitely um like, I don't know if this has happened in your experience because it's rather random, but I'm wondering like how, I guess, whether it's a fumble full bodied or a full bodied. I do a lot of numerology. I'm a numerologist. I can't speak, but I'm a numerologist. And so what happens sometimes is during the readings, they will make me look at something and I'll just start talking about it. And I'll stop and I'll go like, wait a second, why did I do this? And I'll actually do a calculation wrong. And I'll be like, wait a second, but everything I said about the calculation that I did wrong, they can take exactly. Does that make sense?
Oh, wow.
Like I'll get into a tangent of the moving, I'll get into a tangent of like a relationship changing, and it will be based on that law. Does that make sense? And I'll
Yes.
be like, wait a second. And they're like, no, 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 I can take what you said. I am doing those things. And I'm just like, okay, I guess it's one of those hiccups again. And okay, so I'll follow that energy trail and then I'll go back to actually the correct calculation. So we'll build on that.
Right.
But that does happen at times, but they can completely take it and I'll be like, "Oh, it's weird.
Yeah.
They guide you in a way where it's just not what's on paper."
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But you wonder sometimes, why is this happening? but
Yeah.
but it totally makes sense. You just start talking about something that's very relevant, like in your case with astrology, and you're like, this is exactly why I need to be saying this.
Yeah, like, so with astrology, like different aspects can have many different, meanings. Like, for example, like in the 12th house, somebody could have the sun and they could face addiction issues, but that doesn't mean that everybody who has a sun in the 12th house is going to face addiction issues. So a lot of times with that astrology, there's just also a feeling or intuition about, I think that this is what this means for this person. And I'm going to go with this interpretation because that's what feels right.
Exactly. Exactly. Great example, like if someone has a lot of fours and fives in numerology together, that can sometimes indicate addiction.
Mm,
Because it's fours, all about planning and control at times, and
mhm.
five is about cutting loose and being free and that like internal struggle. But not everyone will deal with that. So you have to, right, feel
Right.
into other factors or look into other
Right.
factors.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I love the 12th house. You brought up the 12th house though. Like I love it cuz just tell me how you feel about the 12th house, because I think it's such a cool place, because anything in that 12th house is so personal to the person, and they actually are quite well with those energies, but they're so hidden that the world usually doesn't know about
Right.
it.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's like, I think, I don't know. I'm just excited for the 12th house. So it's like you can give someone actually a really good reading from the 12th house because it's all there, and they're like, how'd you know that about me? Because
Yeah.
this is actually very much you at the same time.
True, true. And like I like to also look at the 12th house and see how people are like as far as intuitively or mediumship, because a lot of times you can see if there's a proclivity towards being open in that way from
Um,
placements like within the 12th house. Um, I don't have planets in the 12th, but I do have Chiron in the 12th, which is one
ooh.
of the markers for being a psychic medium, Chiron in the 12th. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because like Chiron's like the wounded healer and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And what does that represent with the 12th house? Like just the need for service, or
Yeah, yeah, and another thing, like with me, like with the 12th house being of service, I have to really watch out for just giving myself away, like almost being a little bit too self-sacrificial. That's one of the things that you've got to watch out for if you've got strong placements within the 12th. You want to make sure that you have a good sense of boundaries, and that when you are helping people, that you are also helping yourself as well, or making sure that you're paying attention to your own needs as well, and not just, putting yourself out there.
that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because wow, within the 12th house, not everyone would see that like within the individual, but the individual has the like proclivity to do that, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Wow. See, the 12th house is so cool.
Yeah.
Really is. Do you have any other favorite houses?
Whenever I'm looking at somebody's chart, I don't know why I always like to look at the third house, because that's the house of how I think, how I speak, how my mind works. So I like to see if someone's got planets down there, and I can see how they process information, how they communicate, how you can see all types of things from the third house, like what was the early school experience like, what's the relationship with siblings like, what's the relationship with their neighbors like. So I, for whatever reason, I like the third house a lot.
My son's in my third house.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm learning about. I actually don't know a lot about the third house. I have like interests in other houses, so I'm always learning. But that's why I think sometimes I do numerology, because of the third house.
Oh.
Um, yeah, I'm learning about it too in different ways. But the third house, so that's like language, right?
Right.
A lot of times people have like a knack for language, or being flowing in their communications.
Right.
Does it even like link over to mathematics at all? Because like it's a number thing. It's like I don't know, language can be quite logical. So I'm kind of
Right.
curious about that. How does that work for people?
Well, like with the third house, for me, like in my experience, the people, like the charts that I've read, it's what I've seen is more so just how I process information or how I think. And I'm even talking about myself because I've got two major planets in the third. So like a lot of times if somebody's got Jupiter in the third, there's a love of reading or a love of
Mm,
learning, you know.
yeah,
If someone's got sun in the third, that's not a person that can stay at home all day and not ever interact with people. Sun in the third house, they've got to be able to interact with other people and share ideas and feel as if they're a part of something and that they are communicating. Something else interesting that I've seen with the third house, almost everybody with Neptune in the third, like especially if they're a child, because I do children's charts for parents, they usually will have some form of problem focusing and concentrating, and there may be like ADD or ADHD. That's something that I've seen quite frequently as well. And also Pluto in the third gives an insatiable desire, like to learn almost everything that you can, and you want to know everything about everything, because for you that's power. Knowledge is power. So that's Pluto in the third. And I've also seen with Pluto in the third with some people, because the third can also be like the house of sibling relationships, usually that there's a tough relationship with a sibling with that placement as well sometimes.
Interesting. So, like Pluto, I'm kind of like understanding Pluto. There's like, individual versus like generational influences.
Mhm.
But Pluto is like, is that a little bit transformative, almost similar to Scorpio, or is it totally different with the way that it transforms?
Pluto, totally different with the way that it transforms. I would say like what you have to do, like whenever you're looking like at a particular planet, like if we've got Pluto in the third, I would I would really look at the aspects. So if there are squares and oppositions to Pluto, then the transformation that it brings about may be a little difficult and may not feel good. But if we've got Pluto trine or sextile, another planet, then that transformation may come about in a way that doesn't feel quite so uncomfortable, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That does. You mentioned too as well that you actually do chart readings for parents for their children.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, really much more needed. We don't
Yeah.
have enough of that bridge work with how
Yeah.
this can help our children, the children. A lot of integration has been actively worked on to help get sensitives or young children with mediumship or
Hmm.
just who need help in other departments, and it's not quite there yet. It really is
Right.
not.
Yeah.
But that's amazing that you're facilitating that right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, because, I've got 4 kids and I cannot relate to them all the same way. It's not a one size fits all approach. Like, so for example, one of my sons has a lot of earth in his chart. So whenever I'm communicating with him, he will accept me better or hear me better if I'm rational and I'm logical and there's not a lot of emotion. But then I have another son who's got a ton of water in his chart, and so then I can use emotions with him. I can be emotional with him because that's his language. So like it's a difference in both of them and how they process the world and how they receive information.
Makes total sense, and it's
Yeah.
very much needed. It really is. Um, gosh, wow. We're flowing. So if I may, would you like to open up the space to energy readings in a second?
Sure. Sure. Yes.
And everyone, like, take that to heart because we're just so multifaceted. We really are. And so everything that Brandy's saying just opens up the way to understanding our family in a more real way, our children, just the people around us. It's so important. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just browse everyone who is raising their hand for reading,
Okay.
and we actually do have some questions too. Would you like to open up? I always like work with the guests. So would you like to take a question and then go into a reading? Or would you like
Sure.
to
Yeah,
open? Okay,
that's
let's
fine.
do that. Let's do that. We'll open up the space like that. So um, someone's asking how you got into Reiki. How did you learn it? How did you learn about it?
Oh, how did I learn about it?
Yes. And what did you do for it?
Okay, so I had heard nothing about Reiki. I knew nothing about Reiki, and then we took a vacation to the Smoky Mountains, and I used to like to go like to the psychics just for fun. And so there was a psychic that said, "Hey, you're gonna be a Reiki master," and I said, "Well, what's Reiki?" And so from there, I did a lot of research. And when I got back to Houston, I found a lady who taught Reiki in Houston, and so I took Reiki 1 with her, Reiki 2, and then trained as a Reiki master. And there's different systems. Like it took me about 3 years to go from 1 all the way through master because it was more like an apprenticeship. But I know that there's other courses where I think you can do it all in 1 weekend. It depends on what you want, which approach is best for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues to learn about Reiki, and just find someone you really believe in.
Right.
And it sounds like, you know, just who you talk to just completely guided you.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the biggest thing. Because Jessie Cat was wondering how us girls learned Reiki. Um, and then Kevin's talking about he's a natural healer and worked with the Arcturians energy, and saw his first ship when he was 11. He said, "Nice to
Wow.
meet a fellow star seed healer." Okay, so have you had experience with like, actually, I guess the way that they talk to you, and it's just, I don't know. Have you gotten visuals of the Arcturians, and they'll send you like unique things about where they are? I'm just curious about it, how
Yeah.
the stars work.
I've had so many experiences, like especially in high school, of like where I would just go out like and look at the sky at nighttime and just be drawn to a certain area of the sky. Now, whether or not there was a ship that's there, I'm not sure. I just know that I've always been drawn to the night sky and always been drawn to the stars. Always had a feeling of not quite fitting in and being a little bit different, and didn't understand why until I explored the whole concept of being a star seed. But it's whenever I meet other star seeds, other people like that work with the Arcturians and Pleiadians, it's like instant recognition almost. I don't know, like it's on a soul level, like we just get each other.
There's something about it. I don't. Do you remember like Google Maps back in the day? Where I haven't looked at this in forever. I don't. It just, I'm taken to talk about this for a second. But do you remember like when they used to take pictures? I don't know what telescope it was, but you could actually go into like different regions of like space, and certain things would be kind of like blocked out, and
Yes.
people would be like, why is it blocked out? But you could see, right? I would just scroll through that for like hours and hours, and I'd be looking for like spaceships or things like
Yeah.
that. Or I would just be drawn because I would just look up. I'm like, I wonder what's out there. And I felt, I don't know.
Yeah.
I never saw anything, but it's like you feel this calling, this pull to something, and you're just like, okay, if I just look around, what's gonna happen? And maybe I'm supposed to look somewhere else, but I do feel like something's out there.
Right, right. When I was in the 5th grade, my mom would always ask me, like when we were making long drives, and it would be nighttime, she would always ask me, "Why are you looking out the window? Why?" And I'm always like, "Well, I'm looking for a spaceship." And this went on for a period of time. Where that came from, I don't know. Why I was doing it, I don't know. But I
Okay.
mean, like it just popped up in my mind right now. Like as we're talking, that was something that I experienced when I was younger. Like I just had a knowing that there were other beings just besides us, and I felt as if I was searching in a way even then.
Absolutely, absolutely. That, wow, I love that, because from what you're telling me, your family would have, I guess, not been looking for that, right?
Right? Yeah.
For you to say that so directly, it's pretty awesome. That
Yeah.
was intense, that search.
Yeah.
That was very real. Okay, so let's dive on in. So Tiara Mace, I'm gonna pick her. She says, "I'm open to reading, and also if there's any messages regarding my cat. She's currently missing." Oh goodness,
Oh.
wow. So I don't specialize in finding um lost animals. I don't, but we'll pull some cards and we'll feel into the energy, and we'll just see what is coming up. So we're just opening up the space. I'm gonna drink some water. I always do for a second. Okay. So I'm just tuning in to start. So what I'm getting is the first thing I'm taken to is your house, actually. And I'm just aware of there's like this density and stress feeling around the kitchen, actually. So it could be like where the kitchen meets kind of where the table is. And yes, there's many different things that can cause stress in our house, but I'm just aware that within the house, there's been a little bit more stress, like something's not coming to fruition, like a lot of work, a lot of worry. And it's like that's the area where you kind of pace or things are getting off the ground with, where, you know, most of your day is met with in that area. So and there's this need for all this creative energy to come in. So I don't know if that's something you're actively doing right now or it's something that you have done before, but I keep getting drawn to markers, like markers and the need to just draw and color, or even like color coordinate, you know, when we are organizing and we just kind of have all these pops of color in, and it helps kind of just organize, but it has just a feeling of like, ah, I like how this feels. So I'm just aware of like this mental stress, a little bit of this hustle and bustle. And there needs to be this return to some things that bring out a little bit more relaxation and calm with the way that we're handling things. So that comes out first just in the energy. So the introducing of color is very, very important. Oh, she says she understands this. And regarding the cat, if I can pick up on something, I will. Can you understand that behind the house, that I'm just seeing this lawn? Okay, I'm seeing a lawn with a lot of grass and there's bushes. So can you understand this is by the property? There is green by the property. There is like you have space. It's not like super close from house to house. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm just seeing like this cat just kind of exited. I believe it's the backyard, but it's by the bushes, it's by the grass, and it's kind of just they bolted. They bolted. And there's like a fence involved. Like, can you understand that there's a chain wire fence close to where you live? Because I'm seeing like the cat pass that, and then I'm just going further and I'm going further. So that's what I'm seeing. Okay, so you can understand some of these things. So it's like the cat just kept going out, and that's where I'm losing the cat. Like I'm trying to follow the trail of the cat. So I do believe that the cat is still out there. It's almost like sometimes we get lost and we got so deep out that we decided to hunker down. Cause I'm just seeing like this forest like area, and I'm seeing all these, it's like winter. I know it's like winter, but I'm seeing all these leaves. So can you understand it's not snowy where you live, but I'm seeing all these leaves and I'm seeing these big oak trees. And it's like I either passed that way or I'm still that way. And I found my way to like a more foresty place. And that's where I am. That's where I am with this cat. So that's what I'm seeing. Okay. So I would check that area. I would check that way. TR, does that make sense? Okay, yes, lots of leaves, but can you understand how there's oak trees and then I keep going out and then there's just more forest. Can you understand that? And I'm going to hand it's off to Brandi too. Okay. Just let me know if you understand that with how there's the big oak trees and then it leads to a more wooded area. Okay, I'm going to give that to Brandi and then we'll see what she says.
Well,
Sure.
first for Tiara, I know that I drew the Four of Cups. So there seems to be the feeling of being at a place in life where I'm not sure if I'm moving in the direction where I want to move, and feeling a little stagnant. Also, with the Four of Cups, we've got to be really careful that we are not um, um, missing or focused focusing too much on missed opportunities, but rather focusing on what we have in hand or what lies before us. So that's just one thing that I would say with the Four of Cups. As far as with the cat, it's funny because the card that I drew was the moon with the dog and the wolf, and the clarification card was the world, which for me means that I think your cat will be coming home. I think you will find your cat, and I think that there's a gentleman, very kind and nurturing, that will have a hand or play a role in that, with bringing your cat home. I do feel, just based on the cards.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think your cat, your cat's out there, and I just keep seeing oak trees, or like this one big oak tree. Okay. And, whether it's bushes, but I'm just seeing, like, I get to a place where I'm hiding, and there's a lot of forest, or bushes around. Okay. So I'm just aware of, I'm out there, I'm hiding. And I like how Brandi is saying that there's a gentleman involved. And she's saying, I don't know if you can see this, Brandi. Last night I was praying to the moon outside. It was huge last night there.
Oh, and this is the moon card. This is the moon card with the two animals. And the clarification on that is the world, which is a very positive card. And I was drawn down here to the lion, the cat. And so for me, that's why I get the feeling that the cat will be coming home. Her cat will be coming home.
Just hang in there. Hang in there. I just, like, when a fur baby is lost, it's like the worst feeling in the world.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, look at that. No joke. I do believe we have this cat coming home, because I have my own cards. Sometimes I, have a deck, and sometimes I do my own cards, and they're very just off the cuff. But look, I got the one cat in the whole entire deck.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful
So
for Tiara. Yeah.
It's, hi, I'm coming home. Okay. Yes. That's the only cat and I love cats. That's the only cat in this entire deck. Okay. All right. All right. So let's pick another one. I don't think we've ever gotten a missing cat question before, so that was unique, but it's needed. All right. So someone's saying Sherry. And if you want to, you can scroll with these two if you want. You can pick one if you gravitate to a specific question. Someone says, what can you tell me from my birthday? Oh, interesting. Do you want to pull a card, and I'll just pull some numerology really quick? Are you cool with that?
For Sherry? Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So with Sherry, I'm going to start writing. I didn't bring, let's see. So she's an attitude 3. Just do that. She's an attitude 3. She's a personal day 3, and she is a life path 4. And so it lets me know that you are in a cycle of 1 this year. So Sherry, this is a very good year for you. There's a lot of movement, and there's a lot of change, and easy change. So last year was actually very important for you, and actually a lot of good change happened, but it was heavy. It was like, oh my God, so much is getting done this year. And at the pace it's getting done, I feel exhausted. But it was a very good year for the amount of change, if that makes sense. Also, family played a huge role last year with how things changed, with how, like, you met, like, you're, how can I put this? With how you all of a sudden saw your childhood, with you re-exploring your psyche, with you understanding, oh, this is why I am the way I am, and this is what I'm choosing now instead. So family was a huge part of your self-reflection. So this year going forward, it's going to be more so by your rules and your time, and you have more flexibility and you have more power. And it's very, very good because you have a lot of people numbers. Okay. So if you want to get out and make things happen, things just kind of open up this year, and there isn't that much responsibility or waiting or, having to line up different timelines, because you can't just make the plans yourself. So a lot more freedom this year. I'm going to give that to you. Then Brandi.
I mean, I couldn't write it better because you were bringing up, about last year for Sherry about going through childhood or remembering things from childhood. Because the first card that I drew, we've got the Six of Cups, which is about childhood memories, nostalgia, dealing with things probably that happened when we were a child, like in a constructive way. So that card came up for me, just as you were saying that. Sherry, I'd also like to say, like for this year, we do have the Eight of Pentacles. So I know that there's going to be a lot of hard work for you this year, a lot of focus, dedication, and hard work to a particular path. What I want you to remember is to make sure that you use a balanced approach, and it's not working to the extent where you are neglecting yourself or neglecting what you need or neglecting what nurtures and connects you like to your higher self. Just like Kelly said, this year as well, I also picked up the Eight of Wands. Things are going to be moving fast. Things are going to happen quickly. You'll see results quickly, and it happens fast for you this year.
Boom, 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 right?
Yes.
She has that one energy cycle really helps things to get going. It's like, wings on the feet. Would you like to choose the last one if you want,
Let's
if you
see
gravitate?
if I can just. If you see one that stands out, because I'm just scrolling right now.
Let's see. Okay. I think up top. So there's Jessie Cat. I think she asked, I would love a future general reading, please and thank you. Okay.
A future
So
general reading. Okay.
yeah. Okay, cool. So the first thing that I see, so let's build on that, is I just see you with kids, and the kids are very young. So I'm seeing someone like that's a toddler in a chair, and there's just all this family around, and I think that's more like current energy. And there's so much gratitude around the house. So I actually think when I talk about the future, I'm so much aware of gratitude of the house. So I'm looking towards actually upgrading the house, moving. So I see that being an emphasis, and actually a future as I'm looking, because the house is starting to shift and change, and it's like more opportunity, more success, more stability. But the number one thing is I'm so grateful that we got the house. And I actually feel like there's so much support around that. So I feel like the house is close to family, the house is close to friends, because I'm feeling where I am in location that a lot of people are coming to visit. And I feel like I have way more help than I normally do. So I'm in gratitude of that. And also, I feel like I have a pocket where I can explore more opportunities to be myself. So the more I go forward, the more time I have, and the more I feel like I'm not as overwhelmed. So that's what I'm getting for her.
Okay. And for Jessie Cat, I pulled the Two of Wands. So when this shows up, I know that it feels like, if not right now, that there's going to be a choice between two different options, two different pathways, two things that you've got to decide. Am I going to go this way, or am I going to go the other way? And I would just implore you to really, when making your decision, like make a list of pros and cons for each, and really try to feel into what will best serve your highest good. I also pulled the Queen of Pentacles. So for this lets me know, like within the near future, there's going to be this feeling of self-satisfaction for you, especially when it comes to material resources. So I know Kelly was talking about the home, and the Queen of Pentacles, she's at home with her money. She's at home with people around her, and she's someone who has very good control over her resources. So it feels as if there's a period of being financially comfortable within the near future for you. Also, as well, with that choice that where you're going to choose between or make a decision between two different options, I do feel as if there could be some acclaim or some type of recognition that can come from that decision or from something that you decide to do. I feel like that there is the possibility of, okay, I've got of receiving recognition for a job well done. So I'll leave that with you.
I think like all the hard work in the house just creates more and more abundance because it just like it's the feeling of things get easier. So I have more choice, right? I have
Right.
more choice. And right now it feels like you talked about how there's two decisions, but it doesn't feel like there's a choice right now. You know what I mean? It's like a
Right.
little bit more weighted, like
Right.
which way will I do this? Which way will I go? But it opens up. And the cards that I was getting to support what you're saying too as well is like just things get better. Like please continue to enjoy life. Don't worry. Like
Mhm.
I got the summer song card and that's all about like just enjoy it. Like you're such a hard worker, your family works hard that the opportunities are going to come to you. Like just don't let it stress you out and actually you'll have even more energy to give and just being really aware of your physical health and paying extra attention to your physical needs because I really think that's creating when we're physically just not taking into account of everything, like sometimes we get stressed out, we don't exercise as much, or our patterns in life like maybe are more cerebral, right? Like
Right.
we live our life in our head. What happens is sometimes is that physical imbalance can lead to more mental anxiety,
Right.
right? So I'm just aware of, hey, like everything is actually going way better, way better than you. I don't know. It just feels
Yeah.
like it actually feels very, very positive. Just like really pay attention to the physical side of yourself and help continue to balance that out. And that will actually take a large chunk of stress away as this is moving forward. That's what I'm feeling.
Right.
Okay. She says, wow, this is beautiful. Kelly and Brandi, love my reading. Really appreciated it. Appreciated it. Love and light to you
Oh,
both. Yes, so true, she says.
oh, you're
Awesome.
welcome.
And then, Tiara says because I'm just reading some of the things. Tara with the cat, she says, my husband went out looking for a chain link fence and the oak trees. So she's validating
Oh,
the
wow.
region of where they were searching. Okay. Just we're sending love to finding the cat. We're
Yeah.
sending love to, everyone just being more incongruent with their dreams and their goals. This is why I love readings, just different perspectives. We just try and bridge to the healing as we can. And Brandi got so many wonderful things with her insight. I love how I didn't know what kind of cards you're gonna bring. I'm like,
Uh,
you're gonna yeah. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. And you're getting so much. I have so much interest in the different modalities. So I was like, wow, like tarot and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading, watching you read. I enjoyed
Yeah, well, I
watching.
loved it because like we were getting the same information like in different ways. Like, so what you would say, I'd already had the cards out and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what the cards are showing. So I thought that was amazing.
It was, and as soon as you would say something, it would open up that pocket, and I'd be like, "Oh, I understand. I understand how it connects."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a rocking good time. It really is.
Yeah.
Brandi, it goes by in a flash, but I
Yeah.
want people to come and find you. I want
Sure.
people to know where they can book a reading with you, or if you have any other classes going on, social media. Where can people find you?
So my website is brandycon.com. They can go there, book a reading. I also have a new YouTube channel, and I'm working on a YouTube series where I take each sun sign and examine it through the lens of children and parenting. So far, I've already done Capricorn, and I just did Aquarius, and I'll be doing Pisces. So this year, every month, there will be a video that comes out. And if you've got a child that's a particular sun sign, just watch out for the video. It'll give you 5 things you need to know about your child.
Oh, that's cool. So is it under Brandi Khan on YouTube or?
Yes, Brandi Khan on YouTube. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna check that out.
Okay.
That's really cool. You got me
Yeah.
excited. That's right up my alley. I'm like, I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah.
Excellent. I always give the guest to the last word with a piece of wisdom they would like to share or an insight.
Yeah. So the piece of wisdom that I've been sharing and that I'm intending to share on all of my YouTube videos at the end of all of them about children is, I say, parents, make sure that you love your child for who they are and not for who you wish them to be. So, a lot of times parents, we have children and we think that, oh, wow, here's a blank slate for me to like create on, and I can draw whatever I want on here or paint whatever I want. And that's not the way it is. Like, your child comes in with their own chart, with their own lessons to learn, with their own strengths and weaknesses. And it's your job as a parent to really accept them and love them for who they are, and not try to make them over into your vision of who you think that they should be.
Absolutely. Powerful words, honoring just who a person is and honoring ourselves with that. I think is the greatest challenge, right? But you've provided a space where you're providing so many tools to people so they can step into that.
Right.
So thank you so much, Brandi, for being here. Gosh, we covered so much, from astrology to mediumship to healing to
Yeah.
readings. It was awesome.
Yeah. I
It was
really enjoyed
awesome.
it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime. It's a pleasure having you on. I love your energy. And with loving energy and being appreciative, thank you everyone for coming in and having your questions and being open to be read. We will see you next week on Wednesday and Friday at the Psychic Hour. And until then, please, everyone, go with love, luck, light, and don't forget to live. See you next week. Take care. Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.